Today, we're diving into the world of food processors, that powerful kitchen tool that is probably sitting in your cabinet right now, maybe still in its box. Don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll be using it like a pro. First things first, let's talk about what's in front of you. Your food processor might look a bit intimidating with all its parts, but it's actually pretty simple. You've got your base with the motor, a work bowl that clicks into place, and usually two kinds of blades, the S-shaped blade that sits at the bottom, and some slicing or shredding discs that go on top. Now, before we get into the fun stuff, let's talk safety. These blades are super sharp, like really sharp. Always use the pusher thing to guide food down the feed tube. Never ever stick your fingers in there. And always make sure everything is locked in place before you turn it on. You'll hear a satisfying click when it's all set up correctly. Speaking of setting up, here's how you put it all together. The bowl twists onto the base, usually to the left until it clicks. Then you've got two main blade options. The S blade, which is your go-to for most chopping and pureeing, sits right on the center shaft at the bottom. The slicing and shredding discs go up top on that same shaft, but they sit higher up. The lid goes on last, and it won't run unless everything is properly locked in place. That's a safety feature, not your food processor being stubborn. Let's talk about those buttons. Most food processors keep it simple with just a few settings. You've usually got on or run, which keeps it going continuously, off obviously, and pulse. Pulse is your best friend when you're starting out. It gives you much more control. Instead of just letting it rip, you can press and release to chop things gradually. Now, here's something nobody tells you about food processors. Size matters when you're prepping your ingredients. Cut things into roughly similar sized pieces before they go in. This helps everything process evenly and prevents that annoying situation where half your stuff is pureed and half is still in chunks. Another pro tip, don't overfill it. See that max fill line on the bowl? That's not a suggestion. Go past that and you're asking for trouble. And with liquids, fill it even less. Most processors have a lower line for liquids because, well, liquids like to splash. Let's talk about those S-blade techniques. For chopping vegetables, pulse is your friend. Short, quick pulses will give you nice, even chopping. Want to make breadcrumbs? Tear your bread into pieces first and let it run continuously. Making pesto or other sauces? Start it running and drizzle your oil in slowly through that little hole in the food pusher. It is actually designed for that. The slicing and shredding discs are game changers for prep work. Want perfectly sliced potatoes for a gratin? Shredded cheese for mac and cheese? These discs will save you so much time. Just remember to apply gentle, even pressure with the food pusher. Don't try to force things through. Let's talk about a few don'ts. Don't try to process super hot ingredients. Let them cool a bit first. Don't use it to knead really stiff dough. That's what a stand mixer is for. And don't expect it to handle really small amounts of food well. If you're just chopping 1 clove of garlic, grab your knife instead. Ready to test it out? Let's make a super simple salsa that'll help you practice your food processor skills. Throw in a roughly chopped onion and a couple cloves of garlic. Pulse a few times until they're chopped fine. Add a can of drained diced tomatoes, a jalapeno, a handful of cilantro, and a squeeze of lime juice. Pulse until it's the consistency you like. Remember, you can always process more, but you can't unprocess. Season with salt, and boom. Fresh salsa in under 2 minutes. Cleaning is super important, and thankfully pretty easy. Most parts are dishwasher safe, but I like to give everything a quick rinse right after using it. That prevents food from drying on and making cleanup harder later. Just be careful with those blades. Here's my final pro tip. Keep all the parts together. There is nothing worse than wanting to use your food processor and realizing you can't find the blade or the lid. I keep everything nested together in the work bowl, then store the whole thing assembled. That way, I always know where everything is. Remember, your food processor is meant to make your life easier. Start simple, get comfortable with it, and before you know it, you'll be wondering how you ever cooked without it. From homemade hummus to perfectly sliced vegetables, pie crust to nut butters, this machine can do it all. If you like this guide and want to see more kitchen tool tutorials, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below letting me know what you want to make first in your food processor. Until next time, happy processing.